again. This is Tehsin Aslam, Chief Executive of Abacus, Wills and Trusts UK and Middle East. In this week's episode, I've received a lot of emails which I want to go through today. After last week's program, there was a lot of phone calls in my office and emails. I'm going to be addressing some of the emails and some of the questions that our viewers have sent in. So first of all, Samantha from Stevenage. Samantha writes that I own 2 properties with my daughter and own the main home with my husband. The main residence is 630,000. When I die, will the properties I own with my daughter be exempt for inheritance tax? Interesting question. First of all, Samantha, when your daughter inherits, then she will inherit all of the assets that are in the parent's name. So whether they're in joint names with you or with your husband, it doesn't matter. For the properties that are in joint names with your daughter, half of the value of that property will be calculated for inheritance tax purposes, and also it depends on when you actually bought the properties with your daughter, and were they all bought with your money, whether both the properties that you have with your daughter, were they bought with your money and you paid the whole of the deposit, which means that if it's in both names and you paid all of the deposit, you gifted her half of the amount that went to pay for the deposit. So therefore, I would need to know how long ago it was bought, because if it was more than 7 years, then that means that it's free of the 7-year rule, so it's outside of your estate, which means that her share, 50% of the property, if it's in equal shares, is outside of her estate, but your share is still in your estate. And then the property that you own with your husband will also be calculated for inheritance tax purposes when you pass away. So I hope that's clarified a little bit of your situation. Another question is from George from Ealing. George states that my family home is worth over 400,000. Through my work union, I created a will for my family. I stated who my beneficiaries would be after me and my wife pass away. The will did not mention any trusts or tax. Would I need to create another will in order to protect my children from paying any tax? Well, yes, you will need to create another will and trusts, bearing in mind if you have any other assets other than your family home, then you'll only need to create one trust if you just have that one property, and there is a living trust. And as part of the living trust package, you'll be creating new wills, a trust, and also powers of attorney. Aisha from Edgware. Aisha states, our family home is worth 1.2 million. We would like to gift a share of it to our son who does not live with us. Will this make our estate inheritance tax free? Well, Aisha, this is a complicated situation, because if your son doesn't live with you and you gift him a share, the taxman says that you can't give away something and not pay for it. So if he doesn't live with you, you will have to pay him a market value rent for his share of the property. Secondly, you'll need to give him enough to make sure that by the time you pass away, and the value of the property will obviously have gone up if it's in Edgware quite significantly, you need to make sure that the amount you give away is enough to allow for room for growth in the value of the property. So it is a little tricky, but if it's done properly, you will be able to achieve that. Next email is from Stephen from Qatar, and he states, I'm an expat working in Doha and live there with my wife and 2 young children aged 6 and 8. I have a regular will stating the temporary guardians for my children should anything happen to us in Doha. But what would happen to my children when they return to the UK? Do I need a will in the UK stating guardians for my children? Well, yes, you would, Stephen, because once your children return to the UK, who would they live with? If they return to the UK and there isn't anyone to receive them who you've appointed, then social services will take the children into their care until your family members or friends come forward and assessment is done on them. So you will need to appoint guardians, maybe even in the same will. You'll need to appoint guardians in Qatar like you have, but also in the UK as well to take over the care of the children. The last email I'm going to cover today is from Maria from Birmingham. Maria states that we're a young family with triplets aged 11. Lucky you. Our home is worth only 200,000. Would we still need to create a living trust? Well, Maria, I believe that even if you only have a home worth 50,000, 60,000, you should still do proper planning for it. Let me just give you an example in your situation. First of all, you have children under 18. Therefore, you need to appoint guardians in your will so that if something were to happen to both you and your partner, then your children would be taken care of, and social services won't take them into their custody, even if you made a basic will and one of you passed away. Surviving spouse, if they were to remarry or go to a care home or become bankrupt, then the property will be taken over. Other people will have first claim on it. But if you have a living trust in place and proper planning with all the loose ends tied up, then this won't happen, and the assets will go to exactly who you want them to go to and not who other people want them to go to. I hope today has been useful, and all the people who have sent in emails, thank you very much. I'm sorry I couldn't cover all of them today, but in my future programs I will address all of these issues for you. Keep the emails coming in, and today I hope you've enjoyed my view today. This is a view from my balcony at home, and it's goodbye from me. Enjoy the rest of your week. Please don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Any questions you have, this is the email address coming up, and the phone number is on the page as well. So it's goodbye from me. Look after yourselves.